Hi, I'm Alistair Weaver and welcome to the annual Edmunds A to Z, as we round up all the important new cars, trucks and SUVs that will hit US showrooms in 2025. Let's get on with it. A is for Acura. In A to Z, the Acura ADX is about as A as you can get. This is the automaker's new entry-level SUV. Think of it as a crossover version of the Integra or a fancied-up Honda HR-V. It'll have the tiny turbo out of the Integra and CR-V, a CVT automatic, and will be available with all-wheel drive. Expect pricing to start around $35,000. While we're on Acura, let's touch on the 3-row MDX. Acura's range-topping model gets a facelift this year with tweaked styling and new tech. The troublesome, i.e. terrible, touchpad infotainment controller is gone, thank goodness, plus you get better driver assist and available Bang & Olufsen audio. Posh. A is also for Aston Martin. Aston has refreshed most of its lineup, but the big news is the return of the Vanquish, with an updated twin-turbo V12 putting out over 800 horsepower. It's long, low, wide and stunning, and we found it shockingly athletic for such a big car when our Steve drove it in Sardinia. That's Steve, not me sadly. The new Vanquish starts at a mere $429,000 plus options. A is also for Audi. Audi introduces a new generation of the compact Q5 SUV. It's not a reinvention, but freshens up the look and adds all of the latest tech. More screens and ChatGPT integration may be a bit of a novelty, but one back-to-basics change we can fully get behind is Audi swapping out fake exhaust tips for real ones. Audi's shaking up their sedan lineup too. With the shift to naming electric models with even numbers and gas models with odd, the old A4 has become the new A5. Follow me? The mid-size coupe is gone for now, and the new A5 is a compact liftback with a sedan profile. We'll also get an S5 packing a 360 horsepower turbocharged V6 that I drove in France and really enjoyed it, to be honest. B is for Bentley. This year's Bentleys go the plug-in hybrid route. The Continental GT Speed and Flying Spur Speed both ditched a twin-turbo W12 for a plug-in hybrid twin-turbo V8, churning out 771 horsepower and 738 pounds-feet of torque, which is a lot. These are in fact the most powerful cars Bentley has ever produced, while offering around 50 miles of electric-only range. Our friend Clint, yes, others get the best jobs, drove the Conti, saying it has one of the best-tuned performance hybrid powertrains out there right now, with a supple, sophisticated ride that doesn't sacrifice handling despite the car's 5,400-pound curb weight. The plug-in Continental starts at over $300,000. B is for BMW, or Bavarian Motor and Werke. Like Bentley, BMW is getting big into plug-in hybrids. Like the new M5. With 2 turbos, 8 cylinders and a beefy electric motor, it generates more than 700 horsepower, which is sent to all 4 wheels. That's enough to overcome its elephantine mass. It weighs more than most full-size trucks. Yes, really. We've driven it though, and honestly, does a great job of hiding all that weight. The new M5 can really hustle. You can barely hear the V8 and the level of driver feedback is a bit underwhelming, but you get unbelievable thrust from the plug-in hybrid setup. And finally, a wagon version is coming to the US, for the first time ever. If the M5 seems a bit too flash, BMW is also updating their entry-level sedan. BMW is redesigning the 2 Series Grand Coupe for 2025. And if you ask us, it looks way better than the old car. There's some great new interior tech too. The ever-popular X3 gets updated styling with a wider, lower look and a freshened up interior. The big new screens and extensive ambient lighting are now a look very familiar to BMW. But sadly, like other new BMWs, buttons have been phased out and things like climate controls moved to the touchscreen. All X3s will have mild hybrid engines, but there's no full hybrid or electric version, for now at least. B for Buick. Buick's big change for the year is family-focused. The 3-row Enclave is updated for 2025, now with Buick's new design language, a massive 30-inch curved screen, and Super Cruise highway self-driving. We wish Buick offered a hybrid setup instead of the rather coarse new turbo 4-cylinder, but otherwise it's pretty good. We've driven one and appreciate the cushy suspension tuning and new tech. C is for Cadillac. Cadillac's 2025 lineup is more revolutionary. The Escalade gets a sharp new front end and interior displays that look like an IMAX compared to that already impressive Buick. Plus, Super Cruise is now standard, and you can option, wait for it, 24-inch wheels. But Cadillac's real revolution is electric. Enter the Escalade IQ, a colossal, in-your-face, indulgent, 3-row luxury machine that will serve as GM's flagship electric SUV. Luxury cred comes courtesy of a 40-speaker audio system, power-folding rear seat tray tables, and a 126-color ambient lighting setup. It should achieve as much as 450 miles of range thanks to the same enormous battery pack installed in Chevy's Silverado EV. Can't wait to put it through the Edmunds EV range test. It'll be quick too. Its pair of electric motors will deliver up to 750 horsepower in the right drive mode. And yes, it will have a version of the Hummer's crab walk party trick, labelled here as Cadillac Arrival Mode. We can't wait to drive this. But Cadillac also has something for those who want an electric luxury car and don't want something 20 feet long that costs 150 grand. We're talking, of course, about the new Optiq. You can think of this one as a miniature version of the Cadillac Lyriq, or as a luxury analogue to the Chevy Equinox EV. For around 55 grand, this could be a good one. C is for Chevrolet. We love an EV, but we also have something of a penchant for 1,000 horsepower Corvettes. This is the 2025 Corvette ZR1, and it has 1,064 horsepower, courtesy of a twin-turbo V8 running crazy boost pressure. And, even madder still, all that power is sent through just the rear wheels. Clint, yes, he gets all the best jobs, was lucky enough to sit passenger for a 205-mile-an-hour joyride in the prototype, and GM has pushed it to over 230 mph. Is it a future Edmunds U-Drags record holder? Ask us again in a year. Chevy's other V8 darlings get major updates too. The Tahoe and Suburban get a refresh this year with tweak styling, a better diesel option, and a standard 17.7-inch touchscreen with Google integration. These trucks are terrific if you want to haul a big family and occasionally tow a boat or go off-road. Their GMC siblings, the Yukon and Yukon XL, get similar updates this year, including an AT4 Ultimate trim level that combines trail-ready running gear with all the luxury features of the Denali. Sounds like a perfect do-it-all family car to us. For those of us who just need affordable, practical transportation, that's me, Chevy also redesigned the Equinox this year, and we like the new look. This is their compact SUV, a competitor to the Toyota RAV4. There's a tough-looking Active trim, plus new screens up front with Google Tech. We drove it a few months back. This isn't a segment-changing, go buy it right now kind of car, just a smart redesign that looks a little better and addresses some of the old model's weak points. Folks who prefer the GMC flavour of things will be happy to hear the Terrain got similar updates this year. F is for Ford. This year, Ford refreshed the Expedition, and we haven't seen a split tailgate like that south of a BMW X5 or an upmarket Range Rover. There's a new Tremor off-road trim too, with 33-inch tyres, skid plates borrowed from a Raptor truck, a locking rear differential, and a more powerful tune of the Expedition's twin-turbo V6. We can't wait to put that up against the Tahoe Z871 on the trail. That updated tailgate also showed up on the updated Lincoln Navigator, the Expedition's spiffy sibling. That truck gets a 48-inch curved infotainment display too. Something tells me a Navigator Escalade comparison is in our future. Ford tweaked the Explorer for 2025 too. There are small styling changes, but the tech differences are more notable. There's a new screen as standard, and all models benefit from improved software. Plus, higher trim levels get Blue Cruise hands-free highway driving, which is a really hard sentence to say, but the system works really, really well. We drove the new model for a comparison against the Honda Pilot and Kia Telluride, and its interior upgrades, along with being the best three-row SUV to drive, allowed the Explorer to hold its own. But its third row is still too small for real family duty. It's also a big year for Ford's little truck. The Maverick gets a mid-cycle update for 2025, and yes, the screen is bigger, and yes, you can now get the hybrid with all-wheel drive, but we can't stop thinking about the Lobo. It's a lowered street truck with big brakes, a Lobo mode inspired by drifting and autocross, can't wait to test that, and the best wheels we've seen on a production car this year. G is for Genesis. Genesis is going sporty too. The GV80 Coupe is a dramatically styled sloped-roofed SUV in the same vein as the BMW X6, and it's powered by a hybrid twin-turbo V6. Genesis also delivered subtle but meaningful styling updates to the standard GV80, and both models get a new 27-inch OLED display up front, which is very fancy. When we drove it, the GV80 stood out as an exceptionally comfortable, well-finished, tech-forward luxury SUV, even if the coupe doesn't drive as sporty as it looks. H is for Honda. This could be the best update of the year. Honda applied the mid-cycle facelift treatment to the Civic for 2025, but it didn't stop at a new bumper and a bigger screen. The Civic Hybrid is back, and this time it's just the better Civic. Higher trim levels now come standard with the hybrid powertrain, which develops as much power as the engine in the Civic Si, but gets nearly 50 miles per gallon. The top trim gets Google Infotainment Tech too. We got to spend some time with the new hybrid Civic this past year, and considering all the improvements Honda made on top of a car we really liked, yeah, it's fantastic. Honda also made a few tweaks to the aging Odyssey minivan, just enough to keep it around for another couple of years. There are tiny updates to the design and some new wheel options, but what you'll notice most is the new digital instrument cluster, a bigger infotainment screen, and some improved rear entertainment experiences. Seems like the Ioniq 5 just shows up, doesn't it? Well, it's actually been around for a few years now, and this year's updates bring meaningful improvements. First off, Hyundai has adopted the North American Charging Standard, often abbreviated to NACS and better known as the Tesla Plug. There are a couple of other little changes too, including a slightly higher battery capacity, better infotainment software, and some extra buttons. But the big news are two new variants. The Ioniq 5N is Hyundai's first electric performance car, and frankly, it's superb. This is not just some 0 to 60 hero. Hyundai built a proper, well-balanced performance car. There's also the new XRT trim, which adds a little extra ground clearance and all-terrain tyres to make the Ioniq 5 ready to tackle some light trails for the first time. Hyundai also has small improvements for the Tucson and the Santa Cruz, its pickup sibling. Both get updated styling, and they look more distinct from each other than last year. Each model gets dual 12.3-inch screens for the instrument cluster and infotainment system. K is for Kia. The Ioniq 5's Kia cousin, the EV6, also sees a mid-cycle update this year. The facelift is more noticeable than the Hyundai, thanks to a headlight design that's now more cohesive with the look of the rear end. Otherwise, the EV6 gets the same NACS charging as the Ioniq 5, and the EV6 GT gets the same power output and simulated engine driving modes as the Ioniq 5N. We also got a peek at the upcoming, more affordable EV3 this year. The new model seems super promising. Only problem is, it's not coming to the US until at least 2026. Rubbish. L is for Lamborghini. Yes, we primarily talk about consumer cars here at Edmunds, but hey, we've got to talk about the new Lamborghini, especially as it's got more luggage space. The Temerario has arrived to replace the Huracan after that car's 10-year tenure. The Temerario showcases Lamborghini's next-generation design both inside and out, but the big change happens behind the driver. The Huracan's V10 has been replaced by a twin-turbo V8 that revs to a truly insane 10,000 revolutions per minute. And it even has a plug-in hybrid system. Yes, we will risk the sonorous cry of the Huracan, but we really can't wait to drive the Temerario. The new Urus SE replaces both the S and the Performante. We've already driven it, and the hybrid system plus some other dynamic tweaks makes this the most agile Lambo SUV yet, and there's more than 30 miles of EV range. But if you want to go all electric, the new Lucid Gravity might be a great choice, especially if you're a big family. This is the first SUV from the brand that brought you the handsome Lucid Air sedan, and they're claiming up to 440 miles of range on a single charge. The SUV can be ordered with 2 or 3 rows of seating, and there's a huge curved OLED display that stretches across the whole cabin. Pricing starts around $100,000 right now, with an $80,000 model coming late in 2025. M is for Mazda. Mazda's changes are minor this year, mostly limited to the new hybrid version of the CX-50. Mazda partnered with Toyota to borrow a version of the all-wheel drive hybrid setup from the Camry, and the results are, well, mixed. We had one through the office a few weeks ago, and the blend of sluggish throttle response, additional weight, poor braking performance, and only decent fuel economy mean there are better options out there. M is for Mercedes-Benz. The best car with the worst name, the Mercedes-Benz G580 with EQ technology, also known as the electric G-Wagen, or the electric G-Class, or the electric, and I'm going to read this, Geländewagen. Whatever the eccentricities of the name, it looks pretty much like every other G-Wagon, apart from the fact it has 4 electric motors and can do something called the G-turn. The GEV, new name, loses none of its solidity, its personality, or its swagger with the addition of electric powertrain. Range isn't terrific, it only managed 256 miles on the Edmunds EV range test, and it starts at around 160 grand, which is far from cheap. Hey, still kinda cool. P is for Polestar. Remember Polestar? They're an electric spin-off of Volvo that builds the Polestar 2, competitor to the Model 3. This should be a big year for them, with the launches of the Polestar 3 and the Polestar 4. The 3 is a more traditional mid-size SUV, whereas the 4 is a more dramatically styled, low-slung 4-door coupe. Both should offer over 300 miles of EV range and over 500 horsepower. They are Polestar's most dramatic departure yet from its Volvo heritage. Porsche is refreshing a bunch of variants of the 911 this year, the most notable of which is the new GTS, a hybrid. It's Porsche's first hybrid sports car, and they didn't just strap a battery to a standard 911, it's a comprehensive rethink with a new single-motor flat 6. It was a huge undertaking by Porsche, and somehow the implementation is just, well, seamless. There's also a reworked base model, a new manual-only 911T, and an updated GT3, all of which now get a start button and digital gauges in place of the pre-refreshers car's more analog controls. If you need more space though, Porsche has updated the Panamera lineup with the new GTS and Turbo S e-hybrid models. The bigger story though is the 2025 Taycan. This might be the missed opportunity of the year because although the new car looks almost identical to last year's model, so much has changed. New batteries and more efficient motors mean way more range, faster charging, and more power for all Taycans. There's also the new Taycan Turbo GT. At a stunning 1,092 horsepower peak, it's the most powerful production Porsche ever. And if you want to see it in action, check out the latest season of Edmunds U-Drags on our Edmunds YouTube channel. R is for Ram. The Ram 1500 gets a heavy refresh this year with a new inline-6 replacing the V8, an ultra-luxe tungsten trim, and plenty of new interior tech. Ram is also working on a couple of all-new products for 2025. The Ram 1500 Rev will be the automaker's first electric vehicle. And here's the headline, they're targeting over 500 miles of range. Ram's electric pickup will be able to tow as much as 14,000 pounds. One thing to watch out for this year on the Edmunds YouTube channel is a comparison test between the Ford F-150 Lightning, the Chevy Silverado EV, and this new electric Ram. Ram is also trying something that its competitors aren't. The Ram Charger is a bit like the Rev, but instead of just having batteries and motors, it also has a 3.6-litre V6 that acts as a generator to keep the batteries charged. It's one of the most intriguing trucks we've seen in a long time. R is for Rivian, and if you've made it this far, you must love us, so please like and subscribe to our channel. Changes for 2025 are even less notable than they are for Porsche's Taycan. The R1T, that's the truck, and the R1S, that's the SUV, look almost identical to last year's models, but underneath have had significant improvements, with more power, more comfort and luxury, and better technology. Small changes that in the real world actually add up to something significant. S is for Subaru. The Subaru Forester gets an update for 2025 that includes a larger screen and a new panoramic roof, but the big news promises to be the arrival of a Forester hybrid. T is for Toyota. Toyota's 2025 Camry is a more comprehensive redesign. All models get Toyota's hybrid powertrain as standard, and we appreciate the new design language that echoes last year's Prius. Terrific efficiency, much improved infotainment, and a better driving experience than the previous model earned the new Camry a comparison test win when we put it up against hybrid versions of the Hyundai Sonata and the Honda Accord. But what if you like a little adventure? There's finally a new forerunner for 2025, the first redesign in 15 years. The old V6 is gone, replaced by a turbocharged 4-cylinder, and you can also get a hybrid. And don't worry, there are still TRD models and a new Trailhunter variant if you want to take it off the beaten track. If it's anything like the Tacoma truck we've been living with for the past year, this should be good. V is for Volkswagen. Volkswagen's biggest news for this year is the new Tiguan. The third row is gone, but what you get instead is a more spacious, almost Audi-like compact SUV with ample tech up front and plenty of cargo room in the rear. You can even get massaging seats that may send a message to your spine. There's also new tech for the GTI, including an enhanced voice assistant with ChatGPT integration.
Okay, I've reset the trip recorder.
The front, rear, and wheel designs have been revised too, and they've ditched the hugely annoying touchscreen controls on the steering wheel. Sad news though, the manual transmission version is dead. V is for Volvo. New for 2025 from Volvo is the EX30, a small EV that should start in the $30,000 range and offer around 275 miles of range. The EX30 is small, a foot and a half shorter than a Tesla Model 3, but it doesn't feel compromised inside and retains the ultra-plush seats Volvo is famous for. The ride quality is excellent, I should know, I drove it in Spain, and there's even a high-performance version which, in a straight line at least, is Volvo's quickest car to date. Frankly, the world needs more affordable electric cars, and despite its diminutive proportions, I think the EX30 could be a hit. On the other end of the spectrum, there's the 2025 EX90. This is Volvo's new 3-row electric flagship, and at over $80,000, it will be the most expensive new Volvo ever sold. We've already driven one and found that the cabin was appropriately whisper quiet for a car of this price point, and we were pleased with its smooth acceleration, its stability through corners, and the ride quality. If you're considering a Mercedes EQS, a Rivian R1S, or a high-trim Kia EV9, this should be on your list. And of course, there's still the venerable XC90, which gets a mild facelift with an awesome new front grille design. Volvo put better materials, more sound deadening, and an improved infotainment setup inside. So if you want to stick with your gas or plug-in hybrid 3-row Volvo, you're still in good hands. And that's it for this year's Edmunds A to Z. If you're still here, still listening, all I can say is thank you so much. Check out edmunds.com for all your car shopping needs. Please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye for now.